Welcome to another episode of the Next Generation podcast for all of my cowboy creatives out there. I am so excited for today's podcast episode because it is something that has not only changed the way that I view my relationship with Christ, but then also how I view my business and taking breaks, and it's helped my own mental health and everything like that. So today we're going to be talking about taking a Sabbath as a entrepreneur, business owner, individual in general. I believe there is so much strength in taking a Sabbath. If you are unfamiliar with the word Sabbath, kind of what it means, there's a lot of biblical backing behind the word Sabbath and what a Sabbath is. And so it's just a day of intentional rest. And a big portion of a Sabbath for me as a Christian is a day that I am not only doing intentional rest, but spending intentional time with Christ. And so things outside of what my normal day spending time with him looks like more than just my 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening. I typically try to take mine on Sundays. It doesn't happen every single week. I will be the first to acknowledge that. But this has been something that has been so instrumental for just myself, my business, my relationships, my marriage, everything, that I knew I had to share my experience with all of you. So first things first, there is this epidemic in our society that is hustle culture. And I get that there are seasons of hustle and that there are seasons of grind, and I am all for those. I have 3 businesses, y'all. I get it. Trust me, I get those seasons of grind. And I think that those have their place, but they need to be a season. They really can't be just our always and our forever. And that's just how we're living our life. We were made for rest, and we need rest to refuel. So hustle culture can look anything for you like working super long hours, working all the time, not being able to say no to things that don't align with your visions, life goals, all of the things like that. And I would say the biggest fear among entrepreneurs for the reason behind hustle culture is there's this belief system that if you take a break in your business, you're going to fall behind or you're going to lose momentum. And that is not true. Guys, there is so much power behind giving yourself a break and being intentional with that break that you are giving yourself. Because in order for your mind to be fueled, for your heart to be filled, for your cup to be filled, you can't pour from an empty cup all the time. So go and find that thing that fills your cup, and take a day and just go do something that you enjoy. Take time away from your work, take time away from your business. It's okay. You're not going to fall behind if you take one day to go and do this. And it doesn't, also a thing with hustle culture is you have to let go of the mindset that you need to deserve a break. You have to work enough to deserve a break. That's BS. I'm calling that out right there. I guarantee you that no matter where you are in the season of your business or everything like that, that you deserve to take a break, and that it is beneficial for you to take a break for your own mental health and just everything like that. For me personally, the journey of taking a Sabbath was really hard. I am a hustler. I really, really like to grind in my businesses and like to put my best foot forward and really push to continue growing and building that momentum and everything like that. But burnout is a real thing. And I am just so grateful that I have people in my life that were able to kind of call out the early warning signs of burnout in my personal life before I hit it full blown. Because I have heard too many stories of too many entrepreneurs, too many business owners just going, and never giving themselves a break, and then hitting burnout, and it's debilitating. it's not only debilitating mentally, but it's debilitating physically and just everything like that. Trust me, it pays off dividends to take a break now, because the good Lord is going to force you to take a break otherwise. I can speak from experience. There have been multiple situations where I've just kind of looked up and chuckled and been like, okay, I'm listening. I am listening. I'm going to put it down. I'm taking a break, because there are just really hard situations that are best avoided, I guess you could say, or that by taking that intentional rest, you're not putting yourself in a situation to get to that point of burnout. And trust me, like, taking that intentional rest now, taking that one day now, over periods of time is much better than hitting burnout and not having any motivation to do anything for your business. And then it being one of those forced rest periods where you have to take 2 weeks off in a row. Like, that's a situation where you absolutely have to. And then that is a time where your business might lose momentum or something like that. And so it's better to just take 12 hours a day, evenings off now, than to have to wait until you're forced to. So, as I kind of talked about before, Sabbath has such an amazing biblical meaning. And for me, it was not only a journey of getting closer with my relationship with Christ that made me decide to start implementing Sabbaths into my life, but also really sitting back and evaluating where I was, where I wanted to be, where I was going, all of these things, and being super real with myself in the fact that, like, okay, I have an amazing, amazing marriage. And I'm so grateful for my husband. But if I don't put intentional time and effort into that relationship, into our marriage, that amazingness that it is right now isn't going to continue to be fed, and it's not going to be fruitful. So I had to sit back and be like, okay, A, I need to be spending some really great intentional time with my husband. B, I need to find hobbies outside of photography, outside of building a business, that light me up and really fill my cup. Because I had a realization really early on in going full time that I could no longer let this just be a hobby. Yes, it is something I enjoy. I enjoy doing my work every single day, but this is not something that I can rely all of my strength in that. I can't rely on, like, I literally had to go figure out what my hobbies were again as an adult, you guys. And that was really hard. That was really hard. But taking a Sabbath gives me the opportunity to do that. And I found some really amazing things that do fill my cup, but do actually cause me to rest a little bit. And although, like, my business is always in the back of my mind and I'm pretty much constantly thinking about stuff, I really try to just not come in my office on those days that I'm taking the Sabbath. If it's a Sunday, I really try to just keep my office door closed. And I have this notebook that I carry around with me, or I've always got my cell phone, and just take notes as, like, you're going throughout the day. If your mind won't shut up about your business or different things like that, just take notes throughout the day. That's completely fine. You can still do that, but still try and build that routine of this intentional rest. And I think that it really is a routine that you have to start establishing, because it's going to be uncomfortable the first time that you do it, and it's not going to feel super great, maybe initially, because discovering and, like, transforming from that hustle culture to, like, taking a Sabbath and rest and intentional rest and all of those things is not an easy process. It is not easy to shut it off. It is not easy to just kind of, like, shut the door and let it be what it's going to be, to not check the emails, to not check the DMs, to not post on social, like, to really just take a day away is hard when that has been something that is so instilled in your day to day, and in life, just in general, and just in culture in the United States is really instilled. So taking that intentional rest is really hard, and I acknowledge that. But still push yourself to really try and go outside of your comfort zone and do something that is hard, because it is the consistency with doing a Sabbath and taking that time that is going to make it easier. You're going to find those hobbies. You're going to find a good routine. You're going to find joys in your life that you didn't even know were there. And I also want to hit on the fact that just because you might not think that you're a part of hustle culture, and just because you think like, oh, I'm not really in a season of grind in my business, I'm doing pretty good, I take my evenings off to be with my family, or things like that, and you think that you're balancing it pretty good, that's amazing. Still challenge yourself to take a full day Sabbath, and maybe that looks a little bit different for you. Maybe for someone listening to this, it is they start out with just one day where they are not working. They're not answering their emails, they're not posting on social, they're just not going to work. But maybe for you, as someone who's like, I think I kind of have this work-life balance thing a little bit figured out, maybe you challenge yourself to not be on your phone for a day. Like you're locking that sucker up, you're putting it away for 24 hours. Or maybe you're challenging yourself to go and find a new hobby or something like that that isn't a part of your right now, that you can really just push yourself outside of that comfort zone to start finding different ways to take rest. Because another thing about a Sabbath is rest looks different for every single one of us. It looks different for me than it does my husband. It looks different for my best friend. It looks different for other business owners that I know. It looks different for everyone. And so no matter what I say here, it's still, you have to kind of go figure it out for yourself, which sucks. And I know that that's not super helpful from me, but it's one of those things that you really do. It's a trial and error thing. You have to know your own personality, kind of what you need to do in that season and time. But for me, taking a Sabbath, like I said in the beginning, was not only a choice in my relationship and walk with Christ, but it was something that like I evaluated my business and my life and was like, oh, I really do need to do this. I need to be putting that intentional rest and intentional effort forth in other aspects of my life outside of my business so that I can continue to come back to my business and come back to all of the things that I am doing with a refreshed mind, with a refreshed soul, a filled cup, and a support system that is really, truly cheering me on. I know without a doubt that Wathan will always be cheering me on and my biggest fan. But it is still one of those things that it makes it a lot easier for him to be cheering me along and to be my biggest support system throughout this journey if I am putting that effort into him as well. And putting that effort into our relationship, it makes it a lot easier for him to show up as my support system as well. So taking a Sabbath is extremely, extremely beneficial and powerful, for entrepreneurs, for people just in general. Like I said, for you entrepreneurs out there, um, it really truly does enhance your productivity during the week. And you won't realize it until you start doing it. Because I'm a big to-do list person. I'm a big person on like, I've started tracking my time, like what time I'm spending on different projects. And it's crazy to see the amount of change that has come from just starting to take a Sabbath. And just how much more motivated I am to show up and to show up authentically and really like be able to sit down in my office during the week and grind through things. Like, and it's not even just like grind in a forceful way. It's just like I'm truly motivated to be productive. And that probably also comes down to a little bit of my morning routine and different things like that, that throughout the week I am setting myself up for. That way Friday doesn't come and I'm like, ugh, I still have a wedding on Saturday and I have this on Sunday. Like I still have like a whole weekend full of stuff. My work week hasn't even started yet and I'm exhausted. Like I also spread really great things throughout my week, that has really, really helped me continue to show up and want to show up. So I think that that is also just a really big aspect as well. The next part of taking a Sabbath that I want to talk about, that we've kind of touched on a little bit, is just like the work-life balance that comes from taking a Sabbath. So for me, it has been really, really instrumental that I set strict boundaries with my work-life balance, with my Sabbath. When I schedule it, I tell Wathan, I tell my friends that way, like I can't kind of just like wiggle my way out of it. I tell people around me, they keep me accountable, things like that. But then it's also just work-life balance throughout the week as well. Setting those strict boundaries of like, I'm only available for client phone calls by appointment only, or you can text me all the time, but I'm not going to get back to your text message until 8 a.m. the next day if you text me at 7 o'clock at night or something like that. Like that is my time for my husband and I, and other activities that we're involved in and things like that. So setting those strict boundaries and setting boundaries that work for your life, but also challenge you a little bit to like during your working hours, you're really like focused on work and you're not focused on like a million other things, and you're not squirreling all over the place and things like that. The next part is learning how to delegate. So this has been big for me, especially as a person that likes control and likes to have control over situations and projects and things like that. Letting my team take control and take ownership over certain things has been really instrumental to me being okay mentally with taking a Sabbath and with stepping back and relinquishing some of that control. It is hard at first. It's really not easy. I will be the first to acknowledge that, but I think it's important to sit back and evaluate where your time is best spent. If you are sitting there and you are doing mundane tasks over and over and over again, very repetitive, think to yourself, okay, is this something my assistant can do? Is this something I can ask for help on? Is this something that is really producing a high enough ROI that I need to be working on it? And I've mentioned it before on like one of my next generation podcasts that I did an interview with on. But for me, it was sitting down and like, I'm a big visual person. So if numbers or things like that are attached to something, it gives it a little bit more oomph in my mind. And so what I had to do is I had to sit down and start time tracking. And then with that time tracking, I was tracking what my income was based off of those projects. And so I was starting to break down my income into an hourly income based off of different projects or different pillars within my business. And I came to the realization that there are some things in my business that just don't make me money. They really don't. Or they are just things in my business that don't light my fire. And there are things that I really can sit down, evaluate, work with an individual to set them up into a place where you feel like you can trust them, because that's a big thing. If you've got someone on your team that you don't feel like you can delegate something to, that's probably because you don't trust them. And if you don't trust them, they probably shouldn't be on your team. Or if you don't trust them because it's like a task that they don't know, then you as a leader and as an entrepreneur need to sit down and teach them how to do that. And that's something you signed up for when you signed on a team, when you signed up as a leader. And I think you need to take responsibility in that aspect, that you also have things that you need to work on as far as delegating goes. So find those tasks that you can delegate, sit down, and whether you're a visual person or something like that, just figure out what works best for you. Maybe that's making a really long list of every single task that you do and figuring out the tasks that you really just don't enjoy. Okay, find someone to delegate that to. Maybe you need to hire it out if it's a task that you're like, this is something that I don't even really know that much about. And maybe I need to hire it out to someone who's more apt to do it. Or maybe it's like, I just really don't enjoy doing this and I need to spend my time elsewhere growing the business in XYZ ways. Okay, find a great assistant. It's a financial investment, but it has been one of the best investments for me ever. Okay, next is creating routines. Routines are so vital to my success, and I'm a type A person. I acknowledge that. So maybe if you're a type B person or whatever all of the other types are out there, and that's just like not your vibe and thing, then just ex-nay this. I get that everyone works differently, but for me, routines, I'm a creature of habit. They are really, really big for me. My morning routine is the same every single morning. It's one of those things like when I roll out of bed, you can bet that I'm going to be doing the exact same thing pretty much every morning with very little strain from that. But for me, creating a solid routine during the week for my mornings, everything like that has really set me up to be in a place where taking a Sabbath is something that I can enjoy, because I feel like I am being so productive during the week that I can sit down and I can be like, hey, I'm having fun doing this. Like, it's okay for me to step back because I feel internally like I got enough done during the week. And I think that that was also something for me that goes back to, you don't have to deserve a Sabbath. Everyone is deserving of one. Yes, but it's also like, I need to feel like I got enough done during the week that I can turn it off. And that's something that I'm still working on. And I acknowledge that. And everyone is in their own journey with their Sabbaths and with finding balance and everything like that. But it truly, 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 truly is a journey, is a path that I cannot recommend everyone taking enough. It has been just so instrumental for me in my work-life balance, in my relationships, everything like that. Okay, so actionable steps. I want y'all to leave here with things that you can turn off this podcast, mull over, and actually start implementing today. So, first things first, start small. This cannot be something that you just go crazy doing because you are going to despise it if you do. Like, that's how I was. I've tried doing this before and I started despising the idea of a Sabbath because I was doing it all wrong. So start small, pick one day or even half of a day to step away from work at first. I for 2025, one of my goals is to start taking week-long Sabbaths, at least like twice a year. Once or twice a year, I would like to take a week-long Sabbath where I am just completely like away from work. I am out of the office 1,000%. I'm not on socials. I'm not on anything, letting my team take care of everything. But I'm still in a season where I just take a 1-day Sabbath or a 2-day Sabbath every few weeks. I want to get to a point where I'm doing it every week, but for everyone out there listening, start small. Start with a half day, start with a full day, and schedule it. Schedule it and tell your support system, tell your people about it. That way they can kind of hold you accountable in that season as well. The next thing, I cannot recommend enough that our phones are attached at our hips at all times. And it is really hard on your first Sabbath to like really turn off work and to not just habitually check your emails, check your socials, everything like that. What I recommend for this is deleting the apps from your phone or logging out of everything on your phone. It makes it a lot easier because I know for me, I am, again, a creature of habit. And sometimes when I am just like mindlessly scrolling or just going through my stuff, I just automatically like open Instagram and then Facebook and then TikTok. Like, and I'm like, I'm not even on here for a purpose. I'm just opening these to open them. And why? Why am I doing that? Like, it also, there are a lot of studies out there that emails actually, for some people, are like scrolling on social media. Like, we can doom scroll our emails and be addicted to our email. So for me, I try to delete every single app that I know I want to avoid on my Sabbath off of my phone. One thing I'm working on is just like not even having my phone at all, or really, really, really trying to limit my screen time. So if that's for you, something that like you need to go into your settings and you need to like go and actually set a screen time limit for that day, go and do that. Like, really, really try and like be real with yourself and be like, okay, this is how I am as a human. I acknowledge that. And this is what I need to do. I need to set screen times. I need to put my phone away in a lockbox, or I need to give it to my husband because I do not trust myself. And that's okay. That is completely, completely okay. The next portion is when you actually do set aside that time, tell your support system, delete the apps, all of those things. Really try and challenge yourself to use it for relaxation and recharging. Not for cleaning your house, not for tackling other things on your to-do list that you've been putting off for a while, but really trying to just recharge and refill your cup. So like I said earlier, it's kind of like find some really awesome routines, not routines, hobbies, or things like that, that if you're an active person and you don't just want to cuddle up on the couch for a day and spend some time in your Bible and like catch up on different things like that, a non-negotiable, if you are a Christian, you really, really, really need to be like spending more intentional time with Christ on your Sabbath. So challenge yourself to start with another 30 minutes, another hour, set a timer on your phone, or set a timer on your oven if you're not going to have your phone that day, for every few hours to pick up your Bible or to sit down and pray. But if otherwise, it's still like find a hobby, find something, just try out new things, whether that be like, hey, we're going to try out painting today, or we're going to do an art craft that isn't going to insinuate a ton of stress on you. Because I know for me, I can be a little bit of a perfectionist. So I acknowledge that, if I want to do something, we're going to like go on a hike, or we are going to go like find a new spot to walk the dogs, or like I'm going to go do XYZ things. Because if I sit down to try and paint something, I'm just going to get really stressed and really annoyed that it's not turning out how I want it to. So again, that's just one of those things of being real with yourself. The next thing is take this time to just like sit down with a journal maybe and reflect for like 30 minutes of, I like to use this time to kind of just reflect on my week or my past few weeks and be like, okay, God, what things did I do really great? What things did I need to maybe improve on? What are my goals going into this next month? I really, really love to do Sabbaths at the start of a month, or some at the end of a month going into a new month, things like that, to really just try and put my best foot forward. And then also it's like, okay, what are my goals for this next month? What are things that I kind of want to focus on? And some people might be listening to this and be saying, well, Lauren, you just said like, don't do any work stuff. I enjoy sitting down and like thinking about my goals and thinking about places that I want to go. And for me, I find that I'm really, really like, I'm really sensitive to the voice of the Holy Spirit on like a day that I'm doing a Sabbath, especially if I'm fasting while doing a Sabbath. So for me, I really like spending like 30 minutes doing something like that, because I feel like I can hear God really, really well on those days. So I use that as a time that I am not selfishly or just with my own mind making these goals or reflecting. I am using it as a time to have a conversation with Christ about my goals, about where are we thinking we need to go next month? Like, start putting those things on my heart, and start just like really getting in one of those situations where I feel like I can hear him a lot better than I can in the hustle and bustle of my everyday. So guys, I just try it. Like I said, start small, start with a half a day, maybe start with a full day, schedule it, look at your calendar, find a time next week or the week after that you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. Block out the time, tell your people, and just really spend it with Christ, and then in a way that refuels you, that you love, all of those things. Work-life balance is so, so, so important, y'all. It is something that is so underrated and just so important for your mental health, your physical health, the health of your business. You as an entrepreneur need to rest in order to show up in your fullest capability and to your fullest potential that God has blessed you with your business. So that's my prayer for you guys this week. I really just pray that you will take this with an open heart, and that you will let your own personal relationship with Christ kind of lead you in what a Sabbath looks like for you. So thank you for listening to another podcast of the Next Generation Cowboy Creative Style. I hope you guys enjoyed another episode of just me sitting around kind of chit-chatting with y'all. So we will see y'all next week on another episode. And if you guys loved this, please, please, please run down below, leave a 5-star review, DM me on Instagram if you guys have any questions. Share your own experience. If you guys did decide to listen to this podcast and then take the action step of taking a Sabbath or something like that, I'd love it if you would share your experience with me and just different things like that. So I hope you guys have a blessed and amazing week, and we will chat with you all next time. See ya.